Hello and welcome to a look at Gunship for the Commodore 64. The game that was designed, developed and released by Microprose. Due to the nature of this title, I'm going to do the usual that I do with more advanced titles, which is to have something in the background while doing commentary. What I do want to emphasize, and I feel compelled to do so, that this is an overview kind of review thing of a game and nothing else. There's no other hidden, implied, implicit, whatever messages in it. This is an overview of a game, nothing else. With that out of the way, Gunship is a simulation game from Microprose because Microprose were specializing in doing simulations predominantly. And this particular title is a simulation of the AH-64A Apache helicopter. When you start off the game, you have the options to set various different settings, such as the difficulty, the scenario, and realism levels that you want to apply. Personally, I can never get the hang of realistic flight, so it is something I always disable. Call me a noob, I probably am, but I always find that due to advanced flight, I find myself smacking into the ground more often than I like to admit. The various different settings will define the overall difficulty of whatever mission you are attempting to complete. And the difficulty ranges from very low to very, very high. And your point score for completing a mission is directly dictated by how much you challenge yourself. Then you go on to the mission overview screen where you get any potential countersign that you need to find the counter for, and target locations and that kind of stuff. The countersign is incredibly important because this is a training mission. I'm showcasing there's no countersign, but any other non-training missions will feature a countersign. And upon returning to your base, if you do not give the correct countersign, which of course you find in the manual, you'll be given one chance to get it right, and then they will shoot you down. So having those kind of or that bit of information available is quite handy when playing this game. After that, you have to arm your chopper, and depending on whether you set realistic weather or not, the temperature, air humidity, and other conditions may affect the maximum loadout your Apache can carry, and that can sometimes be outright crippling concerning the mission you are trying to do. And that is something to be incredibly mindful of. Because it is a flight training, all parameters are always perfect. And of course, because it's a training mission, you can't be damaged. Then you are into the mission itself. And the first thing you should do is to check the map to identify your targets. Again, in the training mission, the marker is set for what covers both the primary and the secondary target. But when given a mission, you will be given a grid reference, and that is the usual right and up. So 2 CO2 slash 06 would be 2 right 6 up for your target identification. Then it's time, of course, to get the chopper off the ground, and in order to do that, you have to enable the engines and then enable the rotor, because just enabling the rotor is not going to do anything, and just enabling the engines is not going to do anything either. So by combining those two, you will have the potential to add increase to your rotor speed and thereby start to take off. Because of course this is a helicopter simulator, you are not a plane, you don't want to hover around 6, 7, 800 feet, whatever. You are a ground hugger, and as such, any altitude above 100 feet is not recommended. Covering the interface is going to be very, very roughly done because of the length of the video. But the top bar is your damage indicators, and all the letters stands for something unique. Things like your rotors, your wings, your engines, and that kind of stuff. And when they are green, they are perfectly fine. When they are yellow, they are damaged, and when they are red, they are out. And if the two E's are red, then you stop flying right away because you have no engines left. But I will return to that later. Bottom left side is your fuel, the torque, and your engines being on off, and the rotor being connected or not. Bottom left side is your navigational aid. The bottom number is the one you set on the map, and the white inverted triangle is the direction your helicopter is facing. Left middle is your speed and artificial horizon. The middle is your map and forward-facing camera. And underneath that you have your weapon systems and defensives. Top left, sidewinders. Middle left is F-FARS, which of course is folding fin aerial rockets. Yes, this game is from the time before they were collectively known as Hydras. Upper right is the indicator of Hellfires. Bottom left is the indicator of chaff, which of course is used to spoof radar homing missiles. The bottom middle is your gun, that is the amount of bursts you have. And the bottom right is your flare indicator, which of course is used to spoof infrared homing missiles. Just waiting, hurry, we're back. To the right of that, the top dial is your altitude, and the bottom dial is the amount of climb or ascent or descent, sorry, you have currently, which is mostly relevant for realistic flight because it will constantly alter depending on the altitude and your speed and all sorts of other factors. But for simplified flight, you can just keep it where I have the needle, which will maintain level flight. Unless, of course, you use an engine or something similar, but yeah. Top right is your radar warning and infrared homing warning, which will blink, indicating that you are being tracked by a radar or infrared homing something. And you have counters for that. You have the radar jammer and the infrared jammer, but both of them of course comes with caveats. Having your radar jammer active means that you're easier to track because radars can be detected much further away than they can see any objects. And the infrared jammer can overheat, meaning it can disable when you badly need it, so you want to use both of them very, very sparingly. And if they fail to do what they need to do, you need to do some evasive maneuvers and drop a flare or chaff accordingly in order to avoid getting hit by whatever is flying towards you. That leads us on to the most important display on your screen, which is the bottom right corner, which is your threat display. Red dots are hostile targets, glowing white and yellow dots are helicopters, and white dots moving towards the center is an incoming missile of whatever kind. And using various different techniques and tactics and evasive maneuvers and all that kind of stuff, you can hopefully avoid those white dots hitting the middle of the thread display, because that is your chopper. So that is ideally to be avoided. Now, instead of covering the technical aspects of this game, I will let them speak for themselves. For certain people it works, like me, and for certain people it doesn't, and that is entirely up to the individual. But I would rather spend the remaining time of this video talking about the game as a whole. The idea of a simulation game, whatever type it may be, is to let you be in charge of something you likely wouldn't be able to be in charge of otherwise, and master the control of whatever it might be. Civilian flight simulators can be enjoyable and exciting in their own way, but they are relying a lot more on graphical excellence than many other simulation types. Combat simulators, of course, has the added flavor of you being at risk of losing whatever persona you have established in the game. But the idea of simulations is not to go out and blast things. It is something that is reserved for shoot 'em ups. The idea is to be in control of something incredibly challenging to be in control of and master such controls. Creating a Apache helicopter simulator on a 1 MHz machine with 64K memory might have seemed like an incredibly daunting task for many others, but Microprose did it. And they actually did it incredibly well. Certain things had to be simplified, of course, but the essence of the idea of an Apache helicopter is definitely captured by this title. Simulations, by their very nature, require that you are engaged in what you're doing, and especially once you start playing at higher difficulty levels, this game can really grip you when you are trying to sneak around cliffs and hills and mountains and whatnot in order to avoid detection and avoid getting blown out of the sky by enemies trying to do such to you. And as such, as a simulation, this game fulfills the requirements of a simulation, and it fulfills it incredibly well. Quite impressive for a 1986 title on a system of the capacity the Commodore 64 had. Then again, Microprose delivered Pirates on the Commodore 64, which I, having played virtually every other version of Pirates since, still think is the superior version of that particular title. Microprose titles were considered to be high profile, and they had a high profile price tag. At the time of release, this game would have been about £27, which compared to many other games would have been incredibly expensive. But if you liked the game type, you usually got an absolutely excellent game, and you also got an absolutely excellent manual, not just telling you how to play the game, but giving you technical references, historical data, and all that kind of stuff. On top of that, you got a keyboard overlay you could put on your keyboard, so you didn't have to reference the manual every 5 seconds in order to remember what a key did. And of course, they had a disk load routine for the Commodore 64, which was absurdly quick. And the £27 price tag, well, look at the arcade conversion of Commando, which would have set you back about £13. A game you could complete in about 4 minutes, compared to this, which you could potentially play for months on end. On that note, thanks for watching, take care, see you next time, bye bye for now.